Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Meridian Planning and Zoning Commission on January 3rd, and we'll begin with roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Perot?
Here.
Commissioner Casanelli?
Here.
Commissioner McCarville?
Here.
Commissioner Yearsley?
Here.
Commissioner Fitzgerald?
Here.
Absent is Commissioner Holland.
Okay, thank you. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda, and we do have one change. Item 4A, Premier Infant Care H-2018-0128. The applicant has requested to withdraw that application, so there will be no testimony on this evening, and it is off the agenda. Other than that, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. And we just have one item on the consent agenda, and that's to approve the minutes of December 20th, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I'd like to briefly explain the public hearing process for this evening. We'll open each item individually, then start with the staff report. The staff will report their findings regarding how the item adheres to our comprehensive plan and uniform development code with the staff's recommendations. After the staff has made their presentation, the applicant will come forward to present their case for approval and of their application and respond to any staff comments. The applicant will have 15 minutes to do so. After the applicant has finished, we will open to public testimony. There is a sign-up tablet in the back as you entered for anyone wishing to testify. Any person testifying will come forward and be allowed 3 minutes. If they are speaking for a larger group like an HOA and there's a show of hands to represent that group, they will give up to 10 minutes. After all testimony has been heard, the applicant will be given another 10 minutes to have the opportunity to come back and respond if they desire. Then we will close the public hearing, and the commissioners will have the opportunity to discuss and hopefully be able to make a recommendation to City Council. So at this time, we'd like to continue the public hearing for H-2018-0103, Pleasant View Elementary School. And we'll begin with the staff report.
Good evening, Madam Commissioners, members of the Commission. Just to refresh your memory, this is was continued from December 6th to get ACHD's comments and to incorporate them into the staff report. Those comments and the staff report have been received and they've been incorporated into my staff report. Just to refresh your memory, this is a conditional use permit for an elementary school. It's located on the north side of West Gondola Drive, east of North Black Cat Road, and it's midway between McMillan and Chinden Boulevard. And so with that, staff is still recommending approval of the project with the conditions contained in the staff report. The question of whether the applicant will be responsible for the signalized light at Black Cat and Chinden, or whether that will be achieved through other development, is still needing to be addressed by the commission. So with that, staff will stand for any questions.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Fitzgerald.
Stephanie, my understanding is through the STARS program, isn't Costco putting that light in?
I think that they are required, or that it was discussed during that project that they would be installing it prior to their opening, but I don't know.
So, Bill, is that a coordination discussion, or is that something where the school district needs to work with them, or how does that?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, the STARS agreement between Costco and ITD has been finalized. So all of that is spelled out in that agreement. So it's whenever they're ready to get going and start that work, they'll get on and start it. I think at the last hearing, I communicated to you that staff had several meetings with ITD, Costco, all the property owners on all four corners there to try to have a cooperative agreement that everyone would cost share to put in the light and try to get the ultimate build out for that intersection done. That did not come to fruition. So therefore, right now, it's all falling on Costco's shoulders, or if this commission sees it fit to make it a requirement of this conditional use permit, you can certainly do that. But I think our stance was we'll let Costco kind of drive the install of that light at this point and try not to hold up the applicant. I think the commission would agree that we all need more schools in the valley to go along with this growth that's occurring.
Madam Chair, I mean, I guess with an agreement already being set forth on whose responsibility is, and I think the requirement is before their doors open, and I remember that was 2020 is what they expected, so I think it would be in line with when the school district wants to open this building, correct?
That's our understanding as well, that Costco would like to open fall of 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Yearsley?
there was some concern about ACHD wanting improvements to the intersection. I'm not sure what road that is, where it comes out onto Black Cat. Was there any mention of any improvements there?
On Gondola and Black Cat.
Yes.
They did mention I forget, it's a beacon light that they'd wanted. I didn't. Yeah, I'll pull up the staff report real quick. I believe it's right here at the north-south crosswalk, and then our RFB beacon at Gondola. And then they also mention, they just go to her conditions. I'm having a hard time remembering exactly where it is. Yeah, it's right here. They just mentioned monitoring the need for a future crosswalk
Okay.
at that intersection.
And those got included into the staff report, correct? Okay.
What I included in the staff report was just their conditions, basically, as part of their conditions. I could reflect it in the city's conditions, too.
As long as that's just got included, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Any other questions for staff? Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the Commission. Amber Van Oker, LKV Architects, representing the school district in this matter. I think the only thing that we want to make sure is that we're clear on the ACHD conditions, which we were waiting from your last hearing for those to be finalized. Those have been finalized. We're in agreement with those. The work that would occur out at Gondola and Black Cat is just to be monitored right now, so that's not something, there's no improvements occurring at that intersection right now. It's something that they would like us to monitor with our traffic engineers, you know, after the opening of the school to see if there's a crosswalk there. We will be improving along Gondola, which is the street in front of the school, with pedestrian crosswalk flashers and your standard school zone flashers that you would typically see. Those are part of the ACHD recommended conditions of approval, and we're in agreement with those.
Okay.
And the work that it would be occurring by Costco, it is our understanding that they are on track to have that work completed by the fall of 2020, which is what we're targeting for our opening. So we would request that that condition still remain on the responsibility of Costco as their previous application that came before you sometime prior to the school district's application.
Mm-hmm. Any questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Perot?
could we pull up the site plan? I just had a question about the flow of traffic in the parent section. Looks like there's 2 lanes, one of which goes one direction and one of which goes both directions. So is that going to be, is there going to be a way that is being monitored, or are parents just going to pull in whatever section is the least occupied, or?
No, typically, and I don't know if my mouse, it doesn't seem like it's.
Monitor on this side's not working, so I can try to direct if
So
you
that,
wanna-
that northern parking area is actually designed, keep going up a little bit more, Stephanie, up to, there you go. So that whole northern parking area is the parent drop-off loop. So if you're a parent and you're sweeping in, and it's actually a 30-foot wide, so you've got 10 feet curbside to queue up as with vehicles. There's still another 20 feet that if you wanted to pass,
Okay.
then you would be able to do that. The other lane is just your typical parking lot, double lane traffic circulation. We've done this a number of times, and it really does provide a very safe drop-off area. You know, it takes the first couple of months that the school's open to get the parents kind of trained on where they need to go, but this is a really safe approach because you're not having any vehicles backing out into that drop-off area. It's purely just a vehicle drop-off zone.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Fitzgerald.
Amber, and I know I wasn't here for the original hearing, but was there a question about separation of those two driveways? Is that still an issue, or what's your thoughts on that?
No, the fire department, our original design actually only had single driveways for both parking areas, and they were concerned about that, so we added the third,
Okay.
which does reduce what ACHD considers that appropriate separation. But given the fact that it came as a request out of the fire department, that they were willing to do that. So I think that the layout that we've got right now is going to be successful for the district. And, you know, again, it takes a little bit of training in both of these drop-off zones to get everybody on the same page, but it usually works pretty well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone signed up for testimony, Chris?
I checked a few moments ago. There was nobody signed up.
Okay. That being said, is there anyone in the room that wishes to testify on this application? Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Fitzgerald.
I move we close the public hearing on H 2018-0103 Pleasant View Elementary.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on H-2018-0103. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
go ahead.
I think it looks great. I appreciate the applicant's efforts to work with ACHD and the fire department to come up with a solution on the separation of the driveways. And I also concur, I think that we already have a plan for the signalized light at Black Cat, so I don't know the reason we need to add anything additional for the conditions for them. So I would, if we need to remove something, that's understanding, or I would be supportive of removing that requirement, as I think that's already handled in the STARS agreement with Costco and ITD.
Agreement that who pays for it, or that it needs to be installed, period?
I think it needs to be installed, but
Yeah, but don't necessarily.
but I think that it's a requirement of Costco to have it installed
Right.
at their cost, and I think the timing lines up properly.
Yeah, I think they did everything. I mean, we were just kind of waiting on the ACHD report because we didn't want to tie them to anything that might be a surprise in it. So I think that's where we kind of landed, right?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I agree. I think everything looks good, and this type of configuration for the driveways is like similar to what we did have over at Sienna, and it works really well. So it works good.
Okay.
I would concur with my fellow commissioners.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Perot.
Yeah, I went in and reviewed what the prior site plan looked like and then against the new one and read through the ACHD report. I think the report, I'm glad we waited for it because I think it was really in line with what we were discussing, being the concerns that that the original site plan would create. So I was happy to see the ACHD called out the things that we, not because of us obviously, but they called out the things that we had already discussed as being potential issues. And so I'm glad the applicant is in agreement with those and it's much better design.
With that, would somebody like to make a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Pearl.
after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to approve file number H2018-0103 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of January 3rd, 2019, with no modifications.
Second.
How is,
I would
let
say,
me clarify, is the staff report written with or without the condition of financing the light?
There's no condition for the
Okay.
light, so.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded to approve H-2018-0103. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is H-2018-0057, and we will continue that public hearing at this time, and we'll begin with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Next item on the agenda is the Bainbridge Franklin subdivision, or excuse me, annexation. The property consists of 3.6 acres of land currently zoned R1 in Ada County, located at 2075 and 2155 West Franklin Road. Adjacent land uses, to the north we have industrial property zoned IL, 12 Oaks Villa zoned CC and TNR. To the south, we have vacant commercial property zone CC, and to the west, we have vacant commercial property zone CC. The comprehensive plan flume designation for this particular property is mixed-use commercial, and this area is part of our 10-mile interchange-specific area plan. This project was before you back in July. At that time, staff had some concerns with the proposed development. The applicant went before City Council, met with staff after the P&Z hearing, felt like they could address some of the concerns that they heard at that commission hearing. So prior to it going, or it being heard by council, they asked that council remand it back to you to take further action in hopes that you guys would forward on a positive recommendation to City Council a month from now. So the main concerns that were brought up at the hearing and something that you guys took under consideration as part of your denial request included keeping the existing single-family homes on the property for a duration along with that current small equipment repair business. The site plan was not revised per the recommendations in the staff report. The commission felt and staff felt at the time that the application came forward that the plan was not consistent with the comprehensive plan. And then, again, because of all of those issues, the commission felt it was premature for annexation. The owner really didn't have an end user for the site, and they're requesting CG zoning. So, again, we've met with the applicant. My presentation tonight, I'll go through the revised concept plan, and then if you noticed, as you read through the staff report, did the strike-through underland format through that staff report. Again, staff is recommending approval of this application, but I did want to highlight some of the changes. So the previous plan did include 7 proposed sites, pad sites. This one has been condensed. It shows a total of 5. Some of the things that have been incorporated into this site plan, so there's still that one access point off of Franklin Road. And then as part of the adjacent accesses with the adjacent properties to the east and the west, the applicant has provided the cross access and depicted that on the plan for you. The applicant has also incorporated an outdoor plaza area as envisioned by a mixed-use commercial designation. And then all of the pad sites, or a lot of the structures on the site, are either office, retail, or a indoor storage facility, if you will, more like climate control type facility here. That was some of the concerns that staff had brought forward to you, is that it was all single-story buildings. Some of the uses, we were concerned that we weren't getting a mix of uses on this site consistent with a mixed-use commercial. I would point out to you in the staff report, mixed-use commercial designation does anticipate a residential component. Given the acreage of this particular site, staff believes that there will be additional residential in the area, probably to the south of this particular property, that can serve this particular property and this area as part of the commercial designation. Currently to the east, we have some planned or approved multifamily development. So yes, we understand that this doesn't have all of the components of that mixed-use designation, but under the comprehensive plan, you as a body and the council has the ability to, on a case-by-case basis, determine whether or not 3 land uses are appropriate for a site. in this case, staff believes what the applicant's showing is proposing is generally consistent or more aligned with the comprehensive plan than the previous version that you saw back in July. And then here's also a kind of a color rendering showing you that there will be a mix of 2- and 3-story, single, 1-story, 2-story, 3-story structures on the site with a cohesive design theme. That's something that's required of the 10-mile specific area plan as well. A lot of those details weren't provided. And then also, as I noted in the staff report, the applicant does have somebody that's a couple end users that want to locate here if and when this property is annexed. So it looks like an office user and the storage facility there, the 3-story storage facility. And I would mention to the commission that they'll have to come back through a conditional use permit to establish the indoor storage facility. One thing that I did highlight in the staff report was the parking. Currently, if you were to just add up all of the square footage on this particular site plan, one would say that the site doesn't meet the parking regulations of the UDC. But as I noted in the staff report, with that self-storage use, you don't look at the entire square footage of that particular use. You primarily look at the office component only. So that, if you take that ratio out, that component of it out, staff believes that the 96 stalls that are shown on the concept plan would be adequate for this particular facility. And there may be some opportunities in the future with this owner or the future owner to work with the adjacent property owners on some kind of shared parking agreement along with the cross-access agreement. So we think, as proposed and how this plan's laid out, we believe this is a good fit for the area. And again, we do support the CG zoning. One thing that I did want to point out to the commission that didn't come up at the previous hearing was the fact that we have commercial going up against a residential use along the east boundary. So as you know, in our code, when we have commercial uses up against residential uses, we require a 25-foot landscape buffer. The applicant is proposing a 10-foot landscape buffer along a portion of the east boundary here. Again, I imagine the applicant will be seeking, the council has the ability to reduce that buffer width through the public hearing process. And staff has included that as a DA provision that a 25-foot buffer is required unless waived by council when it gets there. But staff is amenable to a 10-foot landscape buffer if council supports the applicant's request. So in closing, I think we've highlighted everything. The applicant's in agreement with staff's recommended DA provisions. I'll go ahead and conclude my presentation and stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Bill?
Bill, is that a canal that's running to the south of the property? Is that going to be create a separation if there is any residential that goes there from that potential three-story building?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I guess, are you saying on the south boundary or the east boundary?
The south.
There is a canal there, but they're not required, at this time, they're not required to put the buffer on the south boundary. It would be along the east boundary of that building. But yes, and the canal's not on their property, but that would be an adequate buffer with that easement in the future if there was any residential along the south boundary.
Any other questions for staff? Do we want to give you a moment? Would the applicant like to come forward, please?
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Sean Nickel, 247 North Eagle Road, Eagle, Idaho, here representing the applicant. First of all, thank you for allowing me to come back in front of you. As you recall, back in July, you did think that it was a little premature asking for the annexation and rezone without having some end users and having some of those unanswered questions. Since then, we have worked with staff. We've kind of put the brakes on a little bit, did some marketing, and we're able to come up with a couple of end users that are interested in the property. As staff has indicated, we will have to come back through the conditional use permit process for the indoor storage, which we understand. And there's some other details that staff has mentioned, including parking and final landscaping and things like that, that we will include in more detail with that conditional use permit. That would be the first user that would come forward. We are in agreement to remove both structures upon annexation rather than having those linger out there. And as far as the waiver for the landscaping on the eastern boundary, we do understand that we can ask for that through the council's discretion. If they determine that it's not appropriate, we can adjust the site to meet that 25. We think because of the multifamily to the east, that reducing that buffer is appropriate, but we'll leave that up to the council to decide that. Other than that, we are in agreement with staff's recommendation, and again, do appreciate them taking the time. We met many times with them afterwards and wanted to come back to you with a more detailed development, and hopefully we can get your recommendation for approval this time. I'll stand for questions.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Casanelli.
Sean, is the storage, is that'll be in the southeast corner?
Correct.
So that will not be, that'll be back away from Franklin. It won't be right up on the road.
Correct.
Okay. And another question, if you have to increase that landscape buffer to 25 feet, how would that affect parking?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, again, this is just a concept plan at this time, so it's not specific to the size of the finished building. So I'm not sure if the building will shrink up that 15 feet or if we'll have to encroach into that parking. But as staff has indicated, we're not going to have that same parking requirement for those storage units that we would have for normal retail or office use. So we're confident that we're going to have enough parking to handle this site.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate your time.
Nobody's signed up for public testimony. That being said, is there anyone in the room who wishes to testify on this application? Okay. I'd say if we're all ready to move on, could I get a motion to close the public hearing on H-2018-0057?
So moved.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on H-2018-0057. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Casanelli.
As long as there's ample parking in there, I'm definitely good with not having a residential component. When you look at that piece of land, it's directly across the street from a transfer station.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to live there. So I think I think the uses are fit, particularly with what's to the east, what's coming to the west. You've got, and then residential most likely be coming in. It'll be coming in behind there to the east. So small piece of dirt there. I think it fits.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Fitzgerald.
I totally agree. With the transfer station across the street, I had the same exact thoughts as Commissioner Casanelli. And I think we've approved a significant amount of multifamily to the west, as well as potential additional residential to the south. So I don't think we need another component. And I know that as Commissioner Perot had alluded to, is there's a buffer there with 10 Mile Creek running to the south of it. And so I think this is where it fits, and infill, this is kind of what needs to go there. So I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I would be as well. I think now that we've cleaned up some of the issues of getting stuff off, it's the right time to bring it into the city with a proper plan and ability to take off the house that's there in the business.
Madam Chair, I agree.
Madam Chair. Yeah, it's, as we've seen it in some other recent applications, it's really hard to get residential, commercial, and employment on this size of property, so trying to fit a mixed use in there is difficult. So I think the design improvement is, I mean, it's better to pull those other two buildings out, have some additional greens. I really like the amount of landscaping that is in here. You don't see that as frequently, and I just think it makes it look really appealing, so.
That being said, would somebody like to make a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Casanelli.
after considering all staff applicant public testimony, I move to recommend approval to the City Council of file number H-2018-0057 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of January 3rd, 2019.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to recommend approval on H-2018-0057. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Sean.
One last item on the agenda. We need a new chairman.
Why do we need a new chairman?
It's time for somebody else. It's fun.
Come on. You don't want to do it for another month, at least?
I would, but I really think it's something that everybody should have the opportunity to do, and I think there's plenty of capable people here, so.
Madam Chair, I agree with
Commissioner.
that statement. I think it's
Former Mr.
Nothing
Let's
personal,
go.
right?
no, it's a great opportunity to run the meetings, and it's a good learning experience. So,
I had
And
the
if-
opportunity to do it
yeah.
this year, and it's really good to have. I mean, it does give you a different perspective, and it was very helpful for me in the decision-making process, and it really did. It helped me significantly. I don't know why. It's not that. I mean, I don't know. It's just something about that is, you know.
It's a different angle on the whole
Yeah.
process, and yeah.
And does that mean you'd like to be nominated?
What's that?
I said, does that mean you'd like to be nominated?
I didn't say that. I just was. I'm not going to nominate myself.
Don't all jump at once.
I guess let me rephrase that. Would you be willing to serve as the chair?
I would be willing. I'd be willing to do that. Yes.
You did a great job.
I understand. Thank
Several
you.
times you.
Yeah, there was a few interesting hearings, right? I think we had the high school and was thrown in the deep end. What about Commissioner Fitzgerald?
I've been vice chair before. I was happy to hand the chairmanship over to the, or be passed over. So I'm happy to do whatever. I'm good serving in whatever capacity the commission sees fit. So that,
How about your schedule? Is it?
it's always fun and exciting. So, yeah, no, you want to do it?
I would prefer either one of you two.
This is so funny. Well, the last time we were here, we only had 4 of us. Steve had already served.
Yeah.
And Rhonda, and
Yeah.
Lisa, it was her first meeting.
I know. And Mr. Fitzgerald had chickened out and didn't show.
Usually you put in those positions when you're not there.
I was gonna say, should we nominate Lisa? And be done?
Exactly.
She's absolutely fantastic. I have
She
no
would be
doubt
fantastic.
she would do an amazing job.
Yes. That's why I said we've got plenty of qualified people, so to make a nomination, and I think we'll be in good hands no matter who has it. So,
Commissioner Pro, if you would like to do it, go forward.
You know, it's funny that you say that because that was the exact thing I was thinking about you.
I'm happy.
No,
I'm happy to do it, and I don't have. My schedule is what it is, so I can manage it. But if it's something you would like to do, I say go for it.
You know, it's not. If the commission would like me in that position, I would be happy to accept.
Would you be happy with vice?
I'm happy to
Actually,
be
I-
whatever.
I was thinking.
I am too, I agree.
Commissioner Casanelli is vice.
That works too. You haven't had to be chair yet. Once the chair can't come, you get to
Everybody
do it.
should enjoy that, especially with like an hour's notice when all of a sudden the chair can't be there. That's the best.
Second vice. Vice,
love it.
vice.
And I've got longer to serve on this fun and exciting group, with this fun and exciting group of people, so.
I
I'll be
agree.
around
It's a
forever.
privilege for sure.
A tennis match. Okay.
Commissioner Casanelli, would you like to make a nomination?
I'm trying to.
Oh, no
I'm-
pressure.
A motion?
You guys want a Rochambeau for?
Really, truly, I agree with Commissioner Fitzgerald. I'm willing to serve in whatever capacity that my peers are comfortable with.
Exactly what she said.
I think the problem is we're comfortable with everybody, and everybody is perfectly capable and wonderful. And
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Yearsley,
I would make a motion to elect Commissioner Perot as the new chair.
Second.
second. It has been moved and seconded to elect Commissioner Perot as our new chairman for 2019. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair.
Was I supposed to vote on that?
You can vote for
Yes.
yourself.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Casanelli.
I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to nominate Mr. Fitzgerald as
Fast and in a hurry.
Come on, Bill.
I would second that as well.
Absolutely.
It has been moved and seconded to have Commissioner Fitzgerald be our vice chair for 2019. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
I'm
Motion carries.
abstaining.
Doesn't matter, we still have the votes to carry you.
I noticed a look there.
Okay, Ryan, one of these nights we're going to plan to both be gone and Bill will have to run the meeting.
Exactly.
It's really, honestly, truly, I was so nervous the first time, but then when I did it, I thought, this is so it just gives you a different perspective, and it's good. It's
cool.
really
It
good.
is.
Next time we have another Costco, just throw it at me.
Amen. That's a great call.
We're going to plan
And
this one to the
Linda's
T.
notes are absolutely the best.
And you know what? These
They're
come
fantastic.
from Commissioner Marshall from a long time ago, don't
yeah.
they? These are years
are a
old.
lifesaver.
Yes, these are years old. So Commissioner Perot, would you like to make one last motion
Yes.
before you don't make any motions for
Madam
a year?
Chair. I move that we close the public hearing for January 3rd, 2019.
Does that mean we're adjourning?
Second?
Second.
Is there anything else you want to say before we adjourn? No. It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on January 3rd, 2019. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.